So from your clinical experience, like talking to I think n number of clients or patients, I would say, what are some of the red flags that needs to be monitored so it doesn't escalate into abuse or violence? Like what do you see most often? Like what are the red flags in the relationship early on?
So I think one of the biggest things is recognizing love bombing. Okay, I think a lot of times people don't recognize what love bombing is and what that looks like, but what it is essentially is this over the top theatrical type behavior from the opposite partner. So
is that some new term, love bombing?
Yeah, so it's essentially like where you basically confuse the person by giving them all the positives, right? So like you show up with flowers and presents and gifts and you give them constant communication, right? So it's like we call them the good morning text. So the moment you wake up, there's a good morning from the partner, right? And they're telling you how wonderful you are and how beautiful you are, how handsome you are. And they're constantly building you up and making you feel like you are the most amazing person in the world. Like, I don't know who I was before I met you. Where have you been my whole... These like types of things that you hear, that's love bombing. Because then what they do is they give you all of this dopamine, right? It's like a heroin rush, right? They give it to you, so now you're hooked. Because even if you're like smart about it, you're like, bro, like what's going on? Like you met me yesterday. What do you mean you can't live without me, right? That feels weird.
Right.
But you like kind of like, okay, just feed into it, and then all of a sudden they withdraw it. And then it's like... And
then they're running after them then.
Yeah, and then now you're doing the chasing, right? So you're using that love bombing, or you're using what we are, taught to say, hey, this person's showing interest in you. Wait, they said that? That means they like you. Right? And they use that and they weaponize that. And then they withdraw, right? So it's like I'm giving you heroin and then I take the heroin away, right? So the idea is that dopamine rush is now withdrawn, right? And then from there, what they usually do is the emotional manipulation and self-victimization. So what they do is then they tell you about their own trauma and how mistreated they were throughout their lives, and how everyone, whether it was a parent or a spouse or romantic partner or a friend or a cousin or whoever, mistreated them or misused them, whatever their, or origin story is. So now when they act in a negative way, when they act in a way where you're like, you're not supposed to talk to me like that, you can't touch me like that, you can't treat me like that, you feel the empathy for them because, yeah, but his dad used to do that to the mom, or her mom used to get that from her dad. That's why she knows this. That's why she does this, right? And the idea is now you're feeling empathy for that person. And rather looking at this person as a grown adult who is consciously making these decisions, we're looking at the scared child who had to go through that their whole life, right? So the love bombing paired with the victimization is some major red flags that you have to keep out for. Butterflies in the stomach. Sometimes you talk to somebody you like and you get those like little butterflies in the stomach. That's an anxiety-based response. Your body's telling you to run. When you feel safe, you don't get butterflies. You feel secure, you feel good, you feel comfortable in your area. You're not overly conscious. You're not like constantly fidgeting and feeling like, oh my God, what is he looking at? What is she looking at? Like, what is she thinking? That's all anxiety. And at its core, anxiety is a defense mechanism. It's a survival instinct that was put into us to protect us back when we were living in the wild and we were living in these caves. Anxiety is what told us, hey, run, danger's here, danger's here. Right. So the butterflies in our stomach are often misconstrued or misunderstood as, oh my God, I like him. But the reality is, no, your body's telling you, your gut feeling is telling you this isn't right, run.
So kind of infatuation, right? Mm-hmm. But in the context of marriage, right? So at what stage in marriage can we anticipate these changes?
It depends on how you meet the person, right? So nowadays, a lot of people are on the apps. On the apps, it's very easy to tell if you know what you're looking for, I guess.
Right.
Right?
Which is not majority of the people, but
if you know what you're looking for. So if a guy is like 100, like for me, my biggest flag is whenever they start off with salam beautiful. That is like the biggest thing for me, like, ew, stop, like go away, right?
So complimenting too early.
Or like too aggressively or too frequently, right? Mm-hmm. There is a way to compliment somebody.
In a respectful way.
But in a respectful way, right? But what they do is, that's the only thing that's the only thing they do. Is every other word is they compliment you, or you're talking about a serious topic and all of a sudden they're like, you just have the most beautiful smile. And it's like, okay, but we were talking about this, like what's going on, right? So it's kind of this like constant redirection, and it's almost like you have whiplash. You're just trying to keep up with their energy, and then they stop, right? And then there's when the ghosting phase comes in, and then they come back again. When you think like they go a week without talking to you, and then they come back again, and then they got you on that hook again, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, I was so busy this past week, this and this happened. And then they talk to you consistently for about 3 days and then ghost.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So when you are looking as a person, whether you are a male or a female, right? Pay attention to these kind of signs where it's over the top communication, where it is, non-frequent communication, or inconsistent communication is what I would say. And then the other aspect of it is the love bombing aspect of it, right? Then there's gaslighting. What they essentially do is they will tell you they did something, and then a few days later they completely switch the story. And then you're like, wait, but you said that. They're like, no, you didn't hear me right. This is what I said. No, that's not what no, dude, what are you doing? This is what I meant. What are you doing, right? So it's like you're now questioning, like, wait, maybe I was wrong. Like, maybe I didn't hear right. But then it happens more and more and more and more to the point where you're starting to question, wait, am I, like, what's wrong with me, right? Like, you're questioning your own reality or your sense of, like, understanding. So when you're talking to people on the apps, when you are meeting with them to see if you like each other in person, you need to keep up with these signs, with their body language and what they're telling you. When it comes from arranged marriage perspective or like the rishta process or the families introducing each other, I think sometimes as people, I think especially for girls at times, and I can speak from the girl perspective, and from the boys' side, from what I've heard, it can be similar, is the reason why a lot of people are gearing towards the apps is because I can talk to the person at my time, at my pace. When it comes to the rishtas, with the family involvement, it's too much pressure. It's like, like, you've met them. What do you think?
Right.
It was like a 20-minute conversation with you guys staring at us while we were talking. Let's calm down. Like, what do you want me to say? He seems cool. Like, I don't know. Like, do I want to marry him? Not in 20 minutes. Like, what do you want from me, right? So the idea here is, like, there is a familial pressure that happens. And then if the opposite side is putting pressure, right? Or if the opposite side is not allowing the kids to meet and talk and get to know each other at a pace where they both feel comfortable, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, we met 2 times. When can we come over? Or we like him, we want to formally bring a rishta.
So kind of rushing into things. I guess the previous generation, like a majority of them.
If you ask my mom, she's like, "Humne to tumhare baap ki shakal bhi nahi dekhi thi shaadi ki raat tak." I was like, "That's wrong, dude. Like, what do you mean? Nanu just picked a dude for you and that was it? Like, how are you okay with that?" But again, that's where we have to understand times and everything has changed. And just because that's what was done at the time doesn't mean it was the proper way to do it. A. B. Why do we think we have so many messed up people now?
Right. So
if the guy and the girl didn't talk and didn't see if they had compatibility and chemistry and even liked each other, that often led to abuse.
Yeah.